It is the Jim and Terry Show, coming to you from the Hobbit Hole Studio in Bobcaygeon. Beautiful, colorful. Trees are just magnificent at this time of year.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at the scenery. I was hoping I'd make it here safely. My stomach was upset, but I'm okay now. You fed me, and I'm okay.
Way to strip the aesthetic down to a bare minimum. One single colored thread, which is, I just worried about getting here. Well, you did make it here, and you did have breakfast with us. And once a week, Jim comes and we record a few podcasts, little tidbits of our conversation. And this is now, nearly an hour after your arrival, and we've talked nonstop.
Yeah, we're funny like that. We have better shows not on air. You know that when we're just around the table. We wax elegantly.
We do. We have the gift for the gab. Two retired guys pretending to know something about something, but really we know very little about anything.
Well, we know about things, not about the things.
We know of things?
Of things,
but not about.
Right. Yes.
Well, I wanted to go back and revisit a blast from the past. Can we save anyone?
Well, that's a funny way of putting it. And I know where you're going with this, but the audience does not.
So paint the context for everybody.
Well, the idea is every now and then people get this idea that they may hear of someone down and out or they may date a girl that seems to have not got her act together or all kinds of things. And you think, I can fix this. I can rescue this person from their situation. And I've thought that in my past. I've done it. I'm a nice guy. I can see the love in people. I can see the good in people, and have it bite me right in the butt after years. All of a sudden, bang! All right. I wasn't saving anybody. I was just there.
Is it just believers, just Christians who have this thing that we can call a messianic complex?
No, I don't think so. I think it's all over the place. We see all kinds. I knew of a couple once. There was a person I knew, and I can't even tell you his name. That's how unreally connected we were. He was a bit of just a regular kind of guy, maybe a little bit on the doofus side, maybe a little bit. And all of a sudden, this absolute wonderful babe came into his life. It was someone he adored in high school and school. She was beautiful. She was wonderful. And they ended up together. She also had MS. And he had to look after her for the rest of his life. I don't know. I don't know where they went. But I said to myself, you knew that, and you got involved in this guy, because you never looked at him in school, and why would you look at him now?
Because he was a reliable guy?
He was a reliable guy, and he took it.
And she knew that she had MS and didn't disclose that?
That's what I think, yep.
Yeah, well, that's what you think.
Oh, and anybody listening to this, it's nobody you and me know together.
No.
So don't fill in the space. This is just someone I know.
How many stories are there? If you're listening to this, we're talking about the need we often feel to rescue people, to save people. And I use the word messianic complex to talk about those of us who are hell-bent on saving as many people as we can, because that's our mission. That's what Jesus.
Well, I think there's the two different salvations. Okay, the one is the Jesus saving. You're
a spiritual
saving. You and me were talking earlier about this saving people from their situation, saving people from the path they're on, because you know that you can if you just tweak this, they're going to be off that path. And sometimes we forget and we fail to see that path is really a path cemented into what they're going to end up doing no matter what.
In the other person's
journey. World. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like anybody who's dealing with a drug dealer. Well, not a drug dealer, a drug addict. You're going to try to help that person, but if that person is not going to change his ways, turn around, try to get cleaned up, they will rob you blind. They're blind to the horror and the agony they put on you and your family. They're blind to it, because I think that kind of addicted person has a mental issue as well as their addiction to the drug. Trying to save that person when they don't want to be saved is a lifetime of hell. Just a lifetime of hell.
Wow.
So those who have a messiah complex or something, you really got to give your head a shake. Are you really going to do this person good if they don't want to do good?
And what's your motivation? Do you think you are being more Christ-like if you save everybody or try to?
I think it's just kindness. It's trying to be nice. Sometimes it's a mother's love for a son or a father's love for a son or a daughter that make them stick around. But the truth is, and I've seen it many times, too many than I want to believe, I've seen it many times that it only can happen through tough love and really tough love. And many times they still end up going back to the life even after they've repented, turned around, put their lives back together again. They slip right back into that world, and
Which is
don't
tragic.
know why. It is tragic.
Very tragic. Now, part of this that we
But
were
they're never going to. I'm sorry, I just want
That's
to.
okay.
They're never going to get out of that slide. Like those who slide back usually they've found somebody. They're at least together, and they may have a substance abuse problem, but they're not robbing their grandparents or they're not robbing their mom and dad and stealing the
So
car.
it's tolerable.
Yeah, it's tolerable, and they kind of find someone that they can be the same as. So when I say fall back, lots of times it's better than where they were, but the only reason they're better than where they are now is because mom, dad, husband, wife, whatever, it was tough love, get out. Live on the street if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. So do you think these people are just substituting substances? If you're an addict, you're substituting a particular chemical or a habit for something else. You found a new relationship, something that's taken over and given you another reason to float your boat and give you optimism, and you don't need that.
Are you talking
addiction.
about the savior
Yeah,
person?
no, the person being saved, that
Oh, yeah,
they
yeah.
have found a substitute for whatever it was that was taking them down. And whether that is you, as in the person saving them, or trying to, or it is a relationship that they found, or something else, an activity, but the addiction to the original thing may still be there. You just moved the addiction,
Well, they say an alcoholic's always an alcoholic.
right?
That's what they say. So
A recovering alcoholic.
A recovering alcoholic, still an alcoholic. He
Yep.
can't drink.
That's right.
And they will tell you themselves, I am a recovering alcoholic. So they don't try to pretend they're cured.
Yep.
They just know what it is they need to avoid. And a lot of times, some of the people, especially within the drug world, they're just cons. They just know that they can get a meal, $50 every now and then. They're always in a situation, always their world's falling apart, always need help, always need your money, and always it's someone else's fault that they took the car and ran it into a ditch. Or, it's always somebody else's fault. It's never their fault. They're sick. They really are sick, and they need professional help, not a do-gooder. A do-gooder just usually ends up just making it worse.
Well, that's what I mean. The do-gooder is now the locus, the fixation now,
Yeah.
as from the chemical or whatever the addiction was to this new person, new relationship. Something new has floated their boat, but when will that lose its luster and the old ways will come back? So without professional help, that's where you were ending that up. Professional help. We
I
often
also want
poo-poo.
to point out, you and me are just two guys having a coffee. I am not an authority on any of this.
No.
I just know what I've observed.
Yes.
And I've known how it's not worked.
Yeah.
I've seen it many, too many to count occasions.
Yeah, mental health is a dark and scary place for those in it and for those who are witness to it. And the ones who are witness to it feel helpless, as I'm sure the ones who are in it feel helpless. I guess the trick is deciding how you're going to manage your life when what you believe and think is maybe not real.
Well, yeah. Or this is just the life. It's a life of do it to somebody else before they do it to you.
Paranoia.
And you just find out all kinds of victims.
Right.
And then you got the nice guy syndrome thinking, well, eventually they're going to see how nice I am, because there are nice people out there. But
Well, you and I are nice people sitting right here.
I would say that, yeah. And I would say, I've come to the point in my life through trial and error that I may be a nice guy, and I've often said that. I've often
Trying to convince yourself I
no,
really
no,
am. a nice-
I am a nice guy, and I don't necessarily view it as a virtue, but I am that way. But I got to watch it, because just because I'm a nice guy, don't mean anybody's going to value that. Sometimes they look at it as
Not
a
these
complete
days.
weakling,
Yes.
a pushover.
No spine.
no spine.
Your name is Matt.
Yeah, and I remember I had a friend. I mean, they met somebody who wasn't a nice guy, and we've seen all kinds of stars go through this. They meet someone who's not a nice guy, and I had someone I had to say, "Why are you trying to change him? You knew what he was. You knew what he was. That's what you fell in love with. Stick with it, kid, because you're not going to like turning him into me."
And you're not going to be able to turn him anyway.
Yeah, but if you did, you wouldn't love him, because you love this guy that you found.
Bad boy, bad boy.
Yeah. And so, of course, my advice would be, don't get involved in a bad boy, but remember what it is that you saw in him. And a lot of times, if you're a smaller, weaker woman, he's a strong man. He's going to defend you. He'll run like crazy. You get cancer or something, he's out the door and gone. So you got to remember that.
Well, let's finish this off by celebrating well-intentioned. I'm not going to say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but let's celebrate the good guys who, well-meaning, try to help somebody else. It's like the Boy Scouts. Do a good turn every day.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing, and I just don't like seeing people be like that story I told you earlier. Why are you in this guy's life?
Yeah.
Because you quickly went from a beautiful stand-up, and don't get me wrong, I feel bad for MS people in that, but you needed help right away. Like, it wasn't long before this guy's pushing you around in a wheelchair. And I thought, you knew that before you came into
Latched
this
on
life.
to the stable person, is that what you're saying? So it was a lifeline for stability?
Someone to look after them, not to be alone in their
Wow.
dying days.
But let's take a look at that metaphorically rather than your instance and say, how many of us are looking for that lifeline too? The Jim and Terry Show. Two guys with a coffee, and we've only had our first one. Wait till we get our second. Take care now. Bye-bye for now.